Hi, I'm Alex Murrell, Strategy Director at Epoch, and today I'm going to talk about the pitfalls of purpose. Purpose is polarizing. There are those who promote it as a silver bullet strategy for success, and there are those who dispute its capacity to connect with consumers. It's a debate that divides. On one side you have the Jim Stengel school. In his book Grow, he analysed 50,000 brands. Over a 10-year period, the 50 best performing brands grew almost 400%. Over that same period, the S&P 500 declined 7%. Stengel found these high-achieving brands had one thing in common. They were all driven by a desire to improve people's lives. The book's conclusion was clear. Maximum growth and high ideals are not incompatible, they're inseparable. On the other side, you have the Byron Sharp school. 3 days after Grow's publication, Byron Sharp wrote a blistering critique. He criticised the study for sampling errors, for halo effects, for confirmation bias, for circular logic. Sharp wrote, "Grow is yet another study that is deeply flawed. It tries to look like science but turns out to be merely a story, one that will appeal to many but tells us nothing reliable or new about the world." So who's right? Is brand purpose the secret to success, or is it an ineffective initiative? I believe that the answer is neither. Brand purpose does not guarantee growth, nor does it forecast failure. It is not 100% foolproof, nor is it 100% flawed. The truth, as with most things, lies somewhere in the middle. In support of the Stengel School, we have case studies like Dove. Since they launched their purpose in 2004, its sales have doubled. It's created the most watched online advert ever, and it's been recognised by Ad Age as the best campaign of the 21st century. But we also have a plethora of painted-on purposes that have missed the mark. This talk will analyse the 3 major pitfalls brand purposes fall into. It will look at the 3 major traps that cause brand purposes to fall flat. Pitfall number 1, not being credible. The benefit ladder is a classic tool in the strategist's toolbox. We identify a product truth, ladder up to a functional benefit, then ladder again to an emotional territory. But brands often travel so far up the ladder, they become completely disconnected from the product truth that they started with. Mark Ritson put it eloquently. As marketers, we want to try and get as high up the ladder as we can. The higher we can go, the more we can charge, and the more successful we will be. When we get to brand purpose, we go too high. We reach too far. We've jumped off the benefit ladder. Andy Whitlock, the founder of The Human Half, recommends that we strive for the reasonable reach. We should ladder high enough that we elevate our brands above their rational benefits, but not so high that we crush all credibility. Sailing past that reasonable reach is one of brand purpose's most common pitfalls. Take Heineken. The brand's Open Your World advert depicts people resolving wildly different opinions. Right and left wing, feminists and misogynists, eco-campaigners and climate change deniers. The overreach is obvious. Beer does not help unite those with opposing beliefs. And even if it did, Heineken would not be any better at doing so than its competition. Healing social divisions is a noble goal, but it is not one which Heineken can credibly claim. And so my first principle of brand purpose is simple. Be credible. Build your purpose on a role that your product actually performs. Pitfall number 2, not being considerate. Tom Fishburne has a cartoon depicting a brand manager in a meeting with a senior marketeer. The manager explains that their next campaign would take a stand on social issues. The senior politely asks which issue the brand would rally against, to which the brand manager responds, "We're still working on it, but we've booked Kendall Jenner." The cartoon uses the infamous Pepsi campaign featuring Kendall Jenner as a cautionary tale of brand purposes that are only campaign deep. But I believe its issues ran much deeper. Yes, it was only campaign deep, but it was also an incredibly tone-deaf misappropriation of a deeply sensitive cultural moment. To fully understand that insensitivity, we need to take a step back. During a 2016 Black Lives Matter protest in Baton Rouge, a Reuters photographer captured the image of Aisha Evans facing down heavily armed police. This single image has come to symbolize Black America's fight against systemic violence, injustice, and racism. It quickly becomes clear that Pepsi's decision to co-opt the iconic image and cast a super-rich white celebrity as the heroic protagonist who diffuses societal unrest is laughable. After a day of intense criticism, Pepsi pulled the advert and halted all further rollout. And so to my second principle of brand purpose. Be considerate. Treat culturally important subjects with sensitivity. Pitfall number 3, not being committed. Trust in advertising is at a low. An Ipsos survey of 18,000 adults across 23 countries found that only 13% deem ad execs to be trustworthy. The only 2 jobs with poorer perceptions were government ministers and politicians. In 6 of the 23 countries, advertisers came dead last in the table on trust. I believe that the misuse of brand purpose has not helped. At Cannes last year, the Unilever CEO, Alan Jope, warned brands against woke-washing. He argued that brands that communicate purpose but don't act accordingly are tarnishing the entire concept. Jope said woke-washing is polluting purpose. It's putting in peril the very thing which offers us the opportunity to help tackle many of the world's issues. What's more, it's threatening to further destroy trust in our industry when it's already in short supply. You cannot paint on purpose. You cannot treat it as a communications tactic. You have to put it at the center of your organization. It has to inform everything you do. Unfortunately, not everybody got the memo. In March 2017, State Street unveiled Fearless Girl. It was a bronze statue of a little girl facing down Wall Street's iconic charging bull. The installation, created to promote State Street's Gender Diversity Fund, became a potent symbol of female leadership, a major tourist attraction and one of the most highly honoured campaigns in the history of Cannes Lions. But all was not well. 7 months later, it came to light that State Street had been made to pay $5 million to more than 300 women following allegations that it had paid its female execs less than their male counterparts. State Street were talking the talk, but they weren't walking the walk. If you're going to do brand purpose, you have to do it. You have to commit to it. You have to be consistent across your actions and consistent across time. And so we come to my third principle of brand purpose. Be committed. Align all of your brand's actions to your purpose. And so, to conclude, brand purposes that miss the mark fall into one of 3 pitfalls. They pursue a purpose that is too far removed from their product. They trivialize a culturally sensitive subject, and they act in contradiction to their claims. Successful purposes avoid these pitfalls. They build a purpose on a role that their product actually performs. They treat culturally important subjects with sensitivity, and they align all of their actions to their purpose. The result is a brand that is credible, considerate, and committed. Like positioning itself, brand purpose can be done terrifically, and it can be done terribly. It can build a brand, and it can backfire. It's all down to approach. When it comes to purpose, our decade of disagreement has not been particularly productive. We must not settle at the extremes. We must not avoid nuance. We must not think in black and white, because to think in black and white is to not think at all. We must learn to love the grey. We must not back theories blindly, nor must we write off techniques in their entirety. We must identify why good work works and why failures fall flat. That, at least, is the purpose of this talk. Thank you.